Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. My Deadlights.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam Johnston.
Hello, I'm your other host, Leslie, bringing you the weekly dose of horror. Yeah.
And with us today, we got Danny. Hello. Special guest. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the Deadlights pod.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for going on this journey with us.
It's fun.
Into the Deadlight. Yeah. One that you hadn't seen before, right?
Never seen her.
Oh, you haven't?
First time.
Fun.
First time rider, which is always fun. Of some of the horror movies that you've seen so far, what are some of the ones that stick out in your mind?
I prefer more of like psychological thrillers. The more of the gory stuff is newer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. Well, this was I feel like this movie that we just watched was a little bit of both of that.
Yeah.
A lot of both of it.
Very much so.
Actually, which is kind of interesting that you say that, because we're about to be at an intersection of what we just watched, what did we just watch?
What did we watch?
What did we watch?
What
We
did
just
we
watched The Thing from 1982, directed by John Carpenter, written by Bill Lancaster and John W. Campbell Jr. A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims.
Dun, dun, dun.
What's cool about this movie is, yes, compared to Halloween, this is way bigger budget of a movie, but the story is still contained. We're still only within, for the most part, this one base, and that is primarily due because they're stuck in this very cold, isolated place, Antarctica, and so even though it is grander, the story is still pretty. This is pretty much just like a whodunit. You said Clue.
Yeah. It turned into Clue halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Where they had to figure out who was where, with what,
Yeah.
and who's the thing.
It felt like an alien movie on Earth. It's like, it felt very much like Alien, of like scientists, and they find this thing, they bring it back, and then it's like chaos. It felt like a combination of like that and then just alien life all over the place. And
From the top.
Make it drop.
We
Cool.
get really cool music going on.
The music is amazing.
The music in this movie is awesome. And it's this like really long, droning, mixed with this like almost like, I thought it was like a heartbeat almost. It was like do do
Oh.
do do. That was under like a lot of what was going on. Well, in the first credit scene, of course, but also throughout the whole movie, when you heard that dun dun, it was like this impending doom for sure. But I thought of a heartbeat, and this is about some sort of living organism that's
Mutates and
going around hunting people.
Yeah.
So
I heard a lot of like high-pitched violin,
Yes.
or what I think is violin, just at certain points. I was like, wow, this is intense.
yeah, and then we go to big old spaceship.
Yeah. Set it up.
It took me I wrote it down because I was like, oh, okay, and then it took me a while to go back to be like, that's right, they started with this like
Yeah.
spaceship going and crashing, and then it going into the thing.
The thing.
Yeah, like
that was really cool.
It like rips away into the title card, which was very cool. Very cool. I pretty much immediately jump into the action of the story, which is following this helicopter, which is chasing after this dog. And
Well, it's confusing because you don't know at first if it's shooting at the dog, and then you finally realize, oh, they're shooting at the dog.
Yeah.
Comes out, starts shooting other people.
yeah, it's
Oh my
like
God,
it was
yeah.
fast.
it
right
immediately
away from the
goes,
top.
and they don't really do a very good job of like being like, yeah, we need to. The helicopter like circles their camp, super threatening, and then lands, and then immediately blows up their own helicopter by accident
Because they dropped the fucking...
because he's like slipped out of his hand. But anyway,
The The last two fucking survivors of this Norwegian search party. They're the last two, and then they blew themselves up.
That's so funny that you say that, because I was thinking, we only saw one of the Norwegians. And
But
it's
there
like,
was
he was shooting.
Yep.
And so for a second there, I was like, is he by himself and like flying the helicopter, running off, trying to shoot the dog, and then flying the helicopter again? But I forget there was another guy there, and he just blew up immediately.
Yeah.
He
Never even
blew him
saw
up. That guy killed that other guy.
I am pretty surprised that guy ended up making it that long.
Yeah.
Who ended up shooting the other Norwegian person that had the gun?
It was Gary. Remember, he like hit out the window with his gun.
Oh yes. Yeah.
I think he shot him.
Which the idea of that in an Antarctic station seems
stop.
It's so dumb.
Like the worst thing. It's so funny too, because they were also very nonchalant when it was coming around. It wasn't like, it's like, oh, it's the Swedes. No, the Norwegians. They're just like, oh, they're being crazy.
What's going on?
They're just being crazy, flying around the helicopter. We're not gonna do anything.
They did call them crazy.
And then it just goes 0 to 100 of like, oh, he's got a gun. Everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and that scene ends with one of the Americans getting hit in the leg, and then the Norwegian guy getting hit in the head.
Yeah, it was a headshot.
And leaving the Americans like, what the fuck? In the meantime, before this is all going on, we kind of do get like somewhat of an establishing shot of the American camp. They're kind of like hanging out, playing pool in the rec room. It's very chill around the place.
It's like pool, poker.
Yeah. And then
chess.
we're introduced to McCready, who's Kurt Russell, and he's playing chess
with a computer.
With a computer.
And drinking
a lot.
He's upset that he lost. So then he pours the whiskey down the fucking slot.
Yeah. And it is this question of like, who the fuck is he? Like, I know he's a pilot for sure.
At this point, we don't know yet.
At this point, we don't
think,
know.
Right?
No. He's just kind of like, that establishing shot is just he's kind of a sore loser.
He's like the one cowboy you just need on a team.
Right.
He's a Renaissance man of a cowboy that his primary function is pilot, but will step in as leader, holds the gun if he needs to. Yeah.
He has plans every now and then.
He's an ice cowboy.
Yeah.
He's an ice cowboy.
Sort of snow cowboy.
Don't they kind of excuse it as like, oh, it's the winter sickness or whatever?
The cabin fever.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's crazy that they've only been there for that long. Wow, they're crazy.
And they did try to radio. Didn't work.
Yeah, they kind of established that I think they say it's been 2 weeks.
Radio silent for 2 weeks. Yeah.
That they haven't been able to reach anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something strange going on around, I guess, the continent.
They also say, I don't know if you picked it up, it's the first week of winter.
Yes.
They say that as well.
Mm.
Yes.
Which is like, that's even weirder that they're experiencing all this cabin fever. We just started.
We just started, yeah.
I think what they ultimately decide is we got to go to the Norwegian camp and figure out what went wrong.
Ooh, before they leave, the dog is under the pool table, I believe, or some sort of table, just like looking at them, kind of being like, ooh, you're going to figure out something. So I have to prepare over here.
Have to lay low.
Yeah.
And there is that shot, I forgot to mention it, before they even leave for the Norwegian camp. It's like that night, that first night, the dog like kind of walks down the hall, and then he turns into a room where we only see the shadow of a person. Yeah. And we don't know who that person is. And it's just...
It turns
they turn around, and you're like... fade to black, and then you're like, uh-oh, who was that?
I thought it was also funny that they're playing Superstition when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Very Superstition. I do like the scenes coming to the dog walking down the hallway, because it just pans out to the rooms that we were previously in, full of people, and there's no one there.
Mm-hmm.
No one there, and I think it's just interesting to just kind of like set up not only the tension and the eeriness, but also just establishing our locations, our different rooms, because it's pretty cluttered, and there's a big cast. What did we count? Like 12 people?
Yeah, it's somewhere around 12 or 15.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a big camp, too. When they really kind of pull out and you get to see all the different
Mm-hmm.
areas of it, it's like, there's a lot. But they
Mhm.
do kind of stick to, like, the main bank. And it's like, this is what we're going to be seeing for a large portion of the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I
I
like
think
it.
too that it's they use it strategically because you're right. We do have these like certain places that we recognize, like the autopsy room and the kitchen and the pool room. Those are like all places that, as the audience, we can kind of establish as like, okay, we know this.
Mm-hmm.
But at least for me, I felt like, oh my god, the rest of this camp's kind of like a maze, and it could be around any corner.
It
Someone could
kind
come
of-
around this, like around from this pipe or something. You know, it felt like
And there was a lot of boxes just scattered throughout the
Mhm.
hallways.
Mhm.
So there weren't clear pathways
it was not clean.
ever. No.
I mean, it's a bunch of guys too.
I mean, yeah.
And it feels like at this point in the movie, we still don't, or at least I didn't know like fully the whole cast. I was like, I've seen a lot of different people, and I haven't sat with anyone long enough outside of Kurt Russell to recognize anyone and what they do yet. So it's like,
yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what's what, where are we,
Yeah.
who's anyone at this point.
Yeah. They go to the Norwegian camp. They kind of pick up some. It's all burned out. It's all iced over.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of go into. I think the first room that they go into is like the laboratory, and they're picking up papers and kind of just gathering research. They don't really know what they're gathering at this point. And then we see this blood trail that leads
Mhm.
over to this guy who's killed himself. Like slit his wrists and then slit his throat, and all the blood is just frozen.
That was a very cool visual of seeing this like frozen trail, and then even to see that it froze as it was like coming out of this person's body. I was like, that's something I don't know if I would have ever thought to do, but it's like, yeah, in those conditions, depending on how it happened, wow.
They look at it and they're not that. I feel like I would be like, what the fuck is this? What happened here? Like, they're not like that, like suspicious. I mean, at least I feel like their reaction should have been a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And
kinda calm.
that's so funny because I feel like throughout a lot of it, it's like you start to put yourself in the mindset of like, this would freak me. Everything that's happened so far would freak me out.
Yeah.
Helicopter, shooting, guy shoots, all of that, and then showing up to
Tries to
everything
blow
burnt.
us up.
Yeah, burnt, like Norwegian camp. This person's like just slit. But it's so funny because I just feel like even McGreedy, it's like they all have some like scientific mindset of like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna let this affect me in a way because this is about science, and we're gonna find out why this. At least for a lot of it is like there's so many times of just burn it, just burn everything. But
Yeah.
it's like no, we're gonna study, and we're gonna study this.
Because we need a Nobel Prize.
They see the dead body, then they kind of trail off of like our detective work is not over yet. Keep going, and it's like, Doc, come over here, check this out. And they see that huge block in the middle.
They called it an ice bathtub.
Yeah.
Looked like it. Yeah, it was like something clearly had been cut out of an ice cube.
Yeah.
Big old ice cube. And then they go outside and find the nice little man meat or
Korean barbecue.
some weird ass goopy Korean barbecue. And I don't know how they transported that thing, but they got it in the helicopter and brought it back to the camp.
It was big. It looked like it could have been anything from like 8 feet to maybe like almost 9 feet because it was like so stretched out.
Yeah, it wasn't even just like how long it was. It was also like the shape because it was like had all these like crazy like arm ish.
It definitely had. They showed a shot of it having like one thing was like multiple, like 10 finger weird like 2 wrist hand thing. I think that's the first thing you see before you go to like the 2 faces split.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought of the comedy tragedy faces with that like crazy morph double face thing. Yeah, and this is pretty much our first taste of like
Korean barbecue.
Yeah, of like this is some out of this world shit. Like this is a monster movie now.
Yes.
This is our first turn of before it was weird and kind of strange and tense. Now we're getting into okay, this is a weird monster alien creature movie.
Yeah, and then they bring back the thing, right?
Mhm.
They start doing the autopsy,
Yep.
and the organs are fine, and that it seemed they didn't say human, they just said normal.
And then they start listing like heart, lungs, liver, kidney.
Yeah.
What
all
else
in
is
that.
in the body?
Yeah.
It's all in there, but in this weird blob thing. Yeah,
Mhm.
everyone's very weirded out of what's going on. And then, again, they're just kind of chilling. And then no one really paid attention to... Everyone is kind of just paying attention to their own stuff. The only one that's really paying attention to the dog is the dog trainer. Because he has a soft spot, obviously, for dogs. And
He's dead inside, though.
Mm-hmm.
I love dogs.
Did you ever try to like really look into those eyes? They're dead.
That had to be... I mean, that made him suspicious the entire time, though.
True.
That made you think...
He spent the most amount of time with the dog as well.
Mhm.
They do a lot of setting up the trainer as... That... Him acting like that is got to be a choice. Like, John Carpenter was like, maybe just make yourself seem suspicious. Like, pretend like you are always the one. And he does always seem weird and suspicious, but...
He kind of looks serial killer-y.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really, it's a great thing to do, especially for how long he lasts.
Mm-hmm.
And then to find out through his unfortunate demise that he was in fact not
At all.
Infected.
contaminated or
Mhm.
whatever. It's a great move.
Ultimately, the dog just gets put into the dog kennel with the other dogs. And again, this is another moment of great dog acting. Because
Absolutely.
it's in there, you see it next to the other dogs. It looks very different. It almost looks fake in some shots. Which obviously it's about to be all fake. But when it's just sitting there, I mean, so still, it really looks off. It really looks strange.
This scene, though, it's devastating, but also absolutely incredible.
This is our first look at the crazy practical effects that we're in for the rest of the movie too. It's like this weird. Well, okay, so the dog starts changing, and first of all these weird tentacle things start coming out.
Yeah, the face just ends up kind of bleeding
yeah.
and
It's like this.
opening
It flowers
up.
open,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
like from the face, and then there's like this weird like tongue thing is just like right there.
The tentacle stuff we see all throughout for the rest of it, but this is the most intense. They were shooting like 30 tentacle things. They were going so fast all over the place. I was like, what is going on?
How did they even do that, first of
I
all?
don't know.
It's incredibly unsettling looking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reverse stuff that they're doing too. Like with the tentacles moving to places, they definitely just shot that in reverse.
Pull them back.
Or they shot it being pulled and then they just played it in reverse. But it feels weird when you see those shots and it looks unsettling. And that's exactly how we're supposed to be feeling during this moment. And what I love about all the different morphs is it feels like it's going, like the face opens up and then it like morphs into like this weird goopy dog looking thing. And then more things just keep coming out and opening up into more teeth and then more things. Like it opens up and morphs into way beyond where you think it's going to go. It like keeps going and keeps going. And you're like,
It's like, oh,
when is it going to stop?
You thought that was a neck? JK, it's a fucking mouth with teeth.
Yeah.
And then it like another dog comes out of somewhere. And then it has like fucking little legs.
And then when it like ultimately like completely starts more, there's like a big ass eye too in the background.
Yeah.
Like, big blinking eye. It's fuck. I mean, as the first like big morph of the movie, they really set you up pretty well. Like it's.
And then it shoots acid, and I felt so bad for that dog.
Oh, I was like, that's a lot.
The dog just kept getting sprayed with something, and he's like, "Oh no, I need
some like weird jelly."
Yeah.
I think we all laughed when we saw this, but it was I definitely thought it was hilarious because they put the dog in the kennel. It takes a little while. Transformation starts to happen. No one is there. No one is there to know anything. And of course, Ice Cowboy probably just down a little bit of whiskey, is doing something and then like hears it. So his like supersonic hearing is like, oh, I hear all this barking. He turns, hits the fire alarm,
what?
and is like tells someone to go get the flamethrower right away. I was just
How?
like, that's awesome.
His
That
fire
is
senses were
awesome.
tingling. His alcoholic senses were tingling.
Everyone is in high alert. They're like, what the fuck is this? Torch it.
No one. Torch. Oh my god, those flamethrowers. They look so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
They did look like, and they had a lot of them.
They
At least 3 or 4
Yeah.
flamethrowers.
What the hell are they doing in Antarctica with flamethrowers?
Also funny to me that they never had what seemed to be like irreparable damage to their station when they were just like torching things left and right inside of a building. But it is funny because then that very same scene, they torch them. 2 seconds, then they come in with fire extinguishers, and I think we all collectively were like, "No, let it burn a little bit. Come on,
let it die more."
I don't think that's not even enough time for the thing or anybody to be, because what if you're set on fire? You don't die from the flames first. You die off of suffocation because you don't have oxygen anymore around you, because that's what fire does. Sorry, don't know what you're saying.
Fire guy.
So yeah, they did not even give it enough time for it to just die from suffocation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, too, like they're still learning what the fuck is going on. They have no idea what. Seeing that for the first time would be shocking.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the fuck is that? So they don't completely destroy it because they also have to study it. And they take it back for another autopsy. We have another autopsy where Blair is like opening up. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's another one where it really is goopy the way he's
like,
going in there.
And he keeps taking like
things out.
Yeah, things out. Is like he keeps opening more and more. Yeah, it's fucking crazy looking.
But then he also fucking touches. So he's like touching things with his pencil eraser, and then he goes like this. And I'm like, why the fuck?
Yeah.
Why? You don't know what this thing is? First of all, and then second of all, this is gross.
Yeah. No mask.
No mask.
I'm now hypersensitive to it, but really didn't see it.
Yeah.
But, and I would assume in the medical science, that's been around for, before the 80s. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there was not a single mask going on.
They used to wear masks back in medieval times.
Yeah.
They were
creepy. They should have masks.
Well, it's funny, too, because they're acting in certain, like, areas, and when they're trying to, like, when he's taking apart some of the crispy stuff, you see those like sort of close-up shots of him going, oh, he's really like it. He's giving the impression that this thing reeks, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just our 2021 sensitivity to this stuff, but at least I would feel suspicious of that too. Like, what if something is airborne? Like, how can this thing get inside of you? Like, is it more than just touch or whatever? Like, everything seems suspicious because we don't understand what it is. We don't understand.
My bad.
It's scary, like that noise.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
But this is kind of when the doctor, after doing this autopsy, establishes what it does, and essentially he explains that it consumes and then imitates whatever it just consumed.
Mm-hmm.
We start to also, I don't remember how it was brought up in like after the studying portions where we get the voodoo alien bullshit that's said a bunch.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Who said Childs has started talking about.
Oh yeah,
he keeps saying it over and over. He's like, voodoo alien bullshit.
Yeah.
Do you believe in this voodoo alien bullshit? You just flamethrowed this fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Is it at this point that we get the video footage too of them seeing the
the spacecraft? Yes.
Is that what prompts this like voodoo alien? Like,
yes.
They even talk about the Incas and it's like,
because then Mac like sits down and it's like, it looks like this thing has been here for 1,000 years, or like it's been here in the eyes for 1,000 years or something like that.
Well,
I wrote
because
1,000.
yeah, no, you're right,
years
because
ago.
they're looking at this tape of them.
Oh, they go to the location.
Yes, exactly. So
Yes.
they're looking at this tape, and it's kind of ambiguous what this tape is. Like, what are they doing around here?
It's just people in the ice
Yeah.
waving at certain
Hello.
points.
It's just a line of them, just like, yeah. It's really weird. And of course, McReady's gotta go.
He's ready. He's McReady.
He's McReady.
Yeah, it's 35 knots. It doesn't matter. I'm going.
Yeah. He's like really gung-ho at this point to figure out what's going on, which I do understand after seeing something like that fucking weird. I would be too.
Yeah.
Oh, but yes, but also can we just really hit it that he's an alcoholic? Like, he
is
should
an
not be
alcoholic.
driving any fucking helicopters.
No. And what they keep saying is bad weather too. So, I mean, this movie is about trust, ultimately. And our main character, they're putting things like that in to inherently make us mistrust him. Like, we shouldn't trust him. He's an alcoholic. Like, we shouldn't trust him to fly. We shouldn't trust him to make decisions. Like, he's constantly drinking.
He's
How
drinking
can
off
we-
of a bottle.
How can we even trust him from the start before this thing even gets there? We can't, really. But ultimately, he is the one that we're forced to trust, I guess.
And for the most part, is the most like trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I don't know, that cook in the roller skates. He's
True.
pretty
that
smooth.
that guy seemed pretty cool.
Pretty loyal.
Pretty loyal.
What was his name? Knowles.
Knowles.
Knowles and the roller skates. He was great.
It's
He's
funny too
alright.
because I think also at this point, as the two scenes are going on, it's the one of them finally at the ship trying to see what it is, and then we're also getting the computer animation of the cells, the intruder cell, seeing it replicate all the stuff that we just heard the doctor say, and then it's just so funny because it keeps going, and this computer from the 1980s, maybe even late 70s, is like, there's a 75% chance that if there is something like this, it's only going to take 27 hours.
2,700 hours.
2,700 hours, yeah, to infiltrate the entire
JK,
population.
27,000 hours.
27,000 hours.
For the whole world to
Until
be
global
infected.
infection. Yeah, I wrote that down too.
I was just like, oh, this is incredible.
This is a great computer. It's
Great.
Really,
And then it's just like you have one cell over here transmorph, and then it's just translating over here, and
he's
it's
like,
just,
Everyone,
oh no. Yeah, yeah.
McGrady comes back and is like, oh, we gotta isolate this thing.
Yeah.
Doc's telling us to isolate it. Move your shit out of here. We're gonna
Oh, yeah.
use your room to put this thing in here, and that's where we also get the this is gonna maybe win a Nobel Prize.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is the first thing of like, what's his name? The guy with the curly hair. He's got like a
Windows?
Windows.
Yeah.
Windows.
Mm.
Windows is kind of like, why don't we just burn this thing? And they're like, no, because this could mean a Nobel Prize for the whole team or one of us or who knows.
Which is so funny because he was so forward to killing these things, but yet everybody mistrusts Windows. Everybody at some point was like, it's fucking you, or you did this. And
I have the fault. I for some reason always suspect him.
Was
when I watch
Windows
this movie.
the radio guy?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But like, he always went to go fight them. If anybody accused him of anything, he's like, you motherfucker, and he like resulted to violence, which is what the creature wanted or did.
Well, they
So-
very much established that the creature hides.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they would want to turn into someone who is like resorts to violence.
When did you think the doctor turned?
Blair.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I guess there's multiple doctors.
it's got to be within this next couple scenes, because after that we don't see him for a little bit, and then the next time we see him is him destroying the outpost, and then they lock him up But I think he's already turned at that point.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think he knew that it was a suicide mission from this point on.
I
where-
think he results to the guy who ends up slitting his throat and his neck at this point on the like American team of like I think the axe stuff is all an indication of what that other doctor did on the Norwegian side of like we have to tear this place down. Like if I just saw the computer tell me we're doomed, I listened to the computer, I had the theory beforehand, we gotta destroy this place.
Yes, because if there's anybody that's gonna die, it's all of them with this thing as opposed to the whole world getting infected.
I think the moment that we might know for sure that he was turned is when they go back to the doctor to ask if they've seen the other redhead doctor who they had just lost. And he's like, no, I'm fine. Let me in with the rest of you.
on,
I'm fine.
please.
I think at that point, he's gone.
I
Yeah.
think so too.
And he's been doing all his little spaceship stuff down
Yes.
And the slip knot, I think, was definitely the indication of what he would have. I think he was already ready, but then the thing already got him before he was able to like end his
Kill
life.
himself. Yeah.
there. They've moved the goop. The goop has been moved. Nobel Prize.
The goop has been moved.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Alone
And
in the storage room. It starts
Yes.
to ooze.
starts to ooze over.
And I think that's where we lose that first character.
That
Mhm.
ginger character.
Yes.
I put-
Because Windows comes back in and he sees him like all like sausage
Wrapped
up. He's like all like got the sausage links all over him.
I put yum yum dinner.
And he's like being consumed by that thing, and then he
Yeah.
runs back out and he's like, it's whatever the guy's name, and they come back and he's gone. Yeah. Whatever. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. He's
And
running
he's like,
away.
I swear he was right there. And then I
That's where we see the fingers.
Yeah.
because I think it's McReady who looks out the window and he sees him running away, and they're like, there he is, go get him. And they follow him out, and yeah, he's like in the snow with his like 80 fingers or whatever, and he just kicks the kerosene bucket over and just lights him on fire.
Ignites him.
Yeah, McReady is like
Chop
coming
the-
back in from burning everything and sees someone running away from the helicopter, and then goes up to the helicopter and finds that they just destroyed it.
Picked for parts. Yeah.
Or picked for parts. Yeah.
He must have.
Okay, but if he's picking it for parts, don't you think that he's picking it for parts for the spaceship? So do you think he's turned at this point?
Maybe. I mean, he could.
Or this is another thing, if it's an organism that can like communicate with like the other like multiple versions of itself, maybe someone else started that UFO and then another one took it over when it like morphed into that or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. Again, it's hard to say. Like he could be turned at this
It's
point.
really
That's
hard
what I'm
to say.
saying. It's like you don't know.
No.
You
Because
really
this
don't
thing
know.
can literally
there's
just.
a large time window too between like locking him away and seeing him again, being all like, "No, let me in with everyone
Yeah,
else."
exactly.
So he could have been at that whole point because they just assume, "Oh, he's locked in there."
Well, and
Mhm.
I think that this next moment is like a perfect moment for us to question him for the rest of the movie, because he's essentially going. We hear a gunshot, and Kurt Russell runs through the base. There's a really cool like tracking shot.
I
through the
really
base.
like. Yeah.
And he runs through, and he's going crazy in the radio room, hitting everything with an axe, like destroying all the communications. He's got a gun. He's just firing it off, yelling crazy shit. And it's perfect because you could see it both ways. You could see it as this guy realized the monster that they've encountered, and he realizes that no one can go, no one can leave.
The
You know?
choppers are down.
The choppers have to be destroyed. Any way to get out. We all are not going to make it out because this thing can't make
The
it out.
dogs are all dead, even though he like
Mm-hmm.
went like just moments before with the dog trainer. They went together and tried to give them medicine, serum, something.
I think they might have been extracting like blood to see if there's any traces.
Oh,
of
right.
the intruder, the thing in the dogs.
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
Probably.
Yeah,
did.
they did
'Cause he was
something.
still studying at that
He
point.
seemed like he was also wanting to not hurt them and take care of them for a little bit.
Right.
I think he just goes over with the fucking axe and just
Yeah.
chops him up.
Because he knows that's another way out. And so I can see it as from that perspective. But then there's this other view that you can say of, oh, it's the thing, and he wants to sabotage everything so it can consume everybody here. The rescue people are going to come eventually, and I can just hop on with them. So
They can survive in the cold.
it's like it's like a perfect act to just add more mistrust to all the characters and their intentions.
The shot of this chaos was incredible. I just couldn't stop laughing because there were characters right outside the room, and he's chopping and destroying everything up, and then they burst in after he runs out of ammo, and then he just throws the gun. And everyone comes in here, and then it's like 8 people in what looks like an actual small room.
Tiny room.
Just so funny.
It was really chaotic. It was hectic.
It was so hectic.
It felt kind of real. Of like these guys just like, I mean, they
did a good job.
They don't seem like they have to
them.
deal with this stuff. Usually, an alien like them fighting each other. You know, you're right. It was kind of funny and clumsy, and it felt kind of real.
It felt real. We get the doctor taped up in the shack.
They put him in the tool shed.
And he says, "I don't know who to trust." He's like, "I did this because I didn't know who to trust." And then they say something about, "In Malort we trust."
It was.
I have no idea.
I can't remember.
Oh, I think he says like, "In the Lord we trust," and then after that he says like, "Don't trust Clark."
Yeah, watch Clark.
Watch Clark.
Yeah.
Watch Clark. Yeah, the dog trainer.
He spent the longest time with the thing.
Yeah.
Watch him. I was saying when we got to this point, I wrote down after like the watch Clark scene, I was like, oh, now it's the invitation game. Now it's just like, let's see. Now it almost slows down a little bit in terms of huge freakouts and like alien stuff, because now it's just like, it's gonna hide, and let's see if you can find it in the subtleties and how people are moving, acting. And I couldn't. They do a really good job of like really spreading the board here of like with the blood and everyone kind of freaking out and doing all this other stuff. I was like, I really don't. Because
everybody's manic.
Everyone's really, really, because they've done a very good job of building a lot of suspicion and giving us a lot of different reasons to mistrust everybody. And we've come to this part in the movie where all the characters are feeling that too. And we've got the, from the, destruction of all the equipment to people disappearing, and also now the blood being destroyed. They have to figure out that whole thing. It just, they're adding all these layers and layers of suspicion, and everyone is giving a reason of why someone else could be the person. And so in this part of the movie too, I mean, you're right, like we've kind of slowed down now, and we have to sit, all the characters have to sit in this like suspicion of everyone else. And I mean, McGrady records this like little thing as he's drinking, of course, and he's just saying no one trusts anybody now. That whole sequence ends with essentially McGrady taking Knowles with him to the shack, and it just fades to black, and we don't see what happens there. We have a time jump essentially to everyone else waiting in the base for McReady and Knowles to come back, and they're like, where are they at? And they're boarding up the place. They're like barricading the place.
I think they say it's been 45 minutes.
I think you're right. Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah.
It's been a while that they've been waiting.
It's been a while.
And while they're boarding it up, Knowles comes back, and he's like, somehow he finds out that he doesn't he find a ripped shirt?
I think he found that same tattered shirt
Mm-hmm.
of McGrady's. He says it was like in a vent somewhere.
Mm.
Or something weird like that.
Yeah, so he cut, because they were attached to each other, like he cut the line and ran away. And he's like, he's one of them. He's one of them. He's the thing. And then they kind of barricade the house because the door handle is like... And... but he eventually gets in, I think, a window.
He breaks in through the window of the storage closet that can only be opened from the inside or something like that. So then they do the axe to the door to get it open. You see frozen Kurt Russell, or frozen beard already.
Yeah.
And he's got a
flare and then
C4 or what?
Like a pack of dynamite. Yeah.
Fuck.
I'll do it.
The whole scene with him, like, because he had a couple of scenes with that bundle of dynamite and the flare. It was just too close for comfort. I'm like, he's just gonna explode everybody right now.
There was one point where he's holding the block of dynamite, and then he has one of those flamethrowers, and he's doing this next to it, and I was just like, oh, any minute he's
what
ready
if it
to
slips?
die.
What if it slips on by accident?
Ugh.
And what if he kept thinking, like, he's putting the flare really close to that dynamite.
Yes, he was.
I was like, what if it accidentally gets too close?
Literally, if I was holding that thing, I would just be like this or something. This is not,
It's so threatening to have this, like, this far away. I'm still scared.
He's an ice cowboy.
He's a nice cowboy. And they try to get it from him, but he kind of, like, shrugs, like, two guys off of him real quick.
Yes, somehow.
And he shrugs that one, that guy off
Who
of him.
the hell is he? What's his role? What's his name?
I'm not sure what he does. I don't know his name. But he falls down and he, like, it looks like he, like, hits his head or something. And he's like, just like, seeming like he really
great.
got it. Thank you. And they take him to the, I guess that same autopsy room.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like it stopped breathing. He stopped breathing.
Yeah, because he, like, checked his pulse. He's like, hey, I'm not getting a pulse or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kurt Russell at this point is pretty much just taking everyone hostage, but he's still concerned about that guy. He's like, come in and help him. Get the doctor in here. Come and grab him. Because they all pretty much moved to the autopsy room where Kurt Russell, he's got the flamethrower.
This is the scene. This is where he still is now switched over from flare to flamethrower. Yeah.
Which, okay, before we get into the next scene, everything that he's doing right now seems extremely suspicious.
Yes.
I mean, this is adding a lot of suspicion to like how he's acting, and he forced his way in there, and also that Knowles just says that he thinks he is one of the things, like, and now he's taking everyone hostage.
Definitely, and I think too, it's like at this point, if I am not the Thing, I would probably still do everything that he does. Of like, you guys are not going to kill me right now because you think I'm the Thing. I'm going to get in here, I'm going to break this thing, and you all are going to not kill me because I'm only trying to help. But I also, in the same time, he's got that frozen beard, he's got the crazy eyes too, of like, oh, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Because he's also pretty freaked out, right? That he found his shirt. Like somebody's trying to
they also
blame
never
him.
kind of really explain or even say what happened in that time frame, other than the fact that, like, I don't know, things got weird and I came back and I think it's him. Yeah. Nothing else was even said of like, if they encountered anyone else or...
That seemed confused.
And if they did say that, in one ear and out the other.
I didn't register any like that.
What were they doing for 45 minutes?
Trying to get back, I think.
Searching
and coming back.
Detective work.
Investigating. It's a very ambiguous thing, and obviously we're not supposed to know. They never explain it.
And that's the shack that he is rooming at that point because. Okay.
Yeah, that's his shack. That's his, like, I didn't leave my shack light on. And then we have no idea what happened between him and Knowles. Knowles obviously found the shirt. and probably he knows that he found the shirt because they were tethered together. So they were obviously together when he was like, and probably just escaped real quick. So I think he knows, obviously, that they suspect him now.
Mm-hmm.
My theory is that the doctor, who's already turned at this point, set that up.
Blair.
As a way to either distract them and start to do more work down in with his spaceship type thing. But yeah, I think that it was one of those things of like turning on the light, getting that McGrady shirt torn up. Like, I think that's all was a play. As they started to do the like chest compressions, I was like, is he gonna do mouth to mouth? Is he gonna do mouth to mouth and just like be eaten or turned immediately?
Well,
because there was a shot too of like you see hands, you see chest, and then you see his face and the doctor's face, and he like looks over, and I was like, oh, is this when it's gonna happen? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then what ended up happening was not what I had expected at all.
He gets his hands straight into the stomach mouth.
Yeah.
And then just bites down and just takes off both of his...
Up to his elbows.
Up to his elbows, yeah. Both his arms. His forearms.
Woo.
Yeah. And then that
gnarly
thing on the table turns into like this big, long, wormy thing with a head on the end of it. And it's like tentacles, like spider leg things are like holding on to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, it's creepy. And then the head of the guy that the stomach thing happened, like falls, like goops off the table. Separates itself. And
but that shot though of it on the floor and shooting out a little tentacle and just like pulling itself away from it all, I was like, oh wow, that's something
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, because that's another scary thing. It's like they're dealing with this big thing that is right in front of them. They're burning it or whatever and trying to destroy it. Meanwhile, this other little part of it is like trying to scurry away, you know? And has that happened before? Like, has a part of this thing scurried away before this moment? And this is just the first time we're seeing it? Because that's part of this thing. Like, can you ever really kill the full thing? Like, it could just continue to just, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Goop off of it itself and just get away.
At this point, too, it's like, in my theory, it's like coexisting now in two... Or was coexisting in two organisms. The doctor and then this other guy who just opened up. So I'm just thinking at this point, these two are happening simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So it's already split off. It's like inevitable. It's inevitable for them never to be able to contain this thing.
It just makes it more of just an impossible mission for them to ever destroy this thing.
I thought, I'm going to go way the fuck back to the dogs. And when it it shoot out lots of tentacles. Mm-hmm. I thought I had seen a little bit of those tentacles gooping away. Just like...
Could have been. Yep. Totally could have been. Yeah.
I literally just thought I saw that. And
making it kind of liquidy like that too, again, adds to that, like, it'll just slip right through your fingers, you know?
It can create...
slither away.
Whatever shape it needs to get away.
And break off of itself to make more of it, too. Mm-hmm. It's like this... Yeah, it's trying to get, like, all the sauce back in the jar once you spilled onto a carpet. Like, there's no way.
No.
There's no way.
And that's going to stink,
It's going to stay there forever. This is now the scene where Kurt is just holding everyone hostage in the room.
Is this where we do blood?
This is a blood test.
Blood test take 2?
Blood test take 2. He comes up with his own everyday man DIY blood test. You heat the wire. It doesn't like heat, which they are right. It doesn't like the flamethrower, so it's a it's a good little take-home test for your thing.
Yeah.
Do we remember the order? Because I think
I wrote it down.
Order was really good.
I wrote it down
in the way that they had sort of been setting up this intense. Who is it?
Yeah. So who they start with is Windows actually, who is
because he's I think using Windows as an assistant right now, and so needs to make sure that he's okay. Mm-hmm. Also, Windows gave a lot of blood. In his sample, he gave a lot of blood.
It was so much.
Yeah, they all gave a lot. So he was negative. He's all good. And then we go to... He does himself. McGrady does. He's like, I'm going to do what I already know is true. He's safe. Then we do... I wrote down Doc. Oh, it was the doctor that just got killed.
Yes.
With his arms
And then
off.
it was a dog trainer.
And then it was a dog trainer who, in the moment before, just got shot by McGrady because he lunged at him. He's negative.
And then
so that's murder.
Yeah.
That's murder. He's like, all right, we'll test you in a second. And then he tests Palmer's. That's when it comes out. It's like, it's a really good jump scare because he's not the last one, you know, and he's kind of distracted too while he's doing it.
Also, Palmer, in my remembering of the film, is pretty under the radar.
He very much so.
Really has not done much, if anything, in the whole film.
Yeah.
So it was even more of a oh God, oh yeah, you were here.
Yep.
His hand starts to shake. Oh, also, I don't know if we talked about it, but the scream that they had the thing do when it encapsulated whatever it was just so guttural, so gut-wrenching.
It was like a screech.
It was
and felt like it came from 40 feet behind, but also 40 feet in front of you. It just felt huge, just a huge.
It reminded me very much so of like a space screech. It felt very alien. It felt really out of this world. What can make that noise? Sort of thing. Pretty bad. Not good.
But then it got worse.
And this guy kind of shakes spaghetti out of his skin. A really gross spaghetti. And the two guys next to him are like, get me the fuck out of it. Cut me loose. What the fuck? And I think it's Windows who gets his
the whole time that he's transforming. The one time the flamethrower is supposed to work, it is just
jammed,
boom, boom, not working. And it's so funny too because he takes forever to try to fix it himself before being like, Windows, you have a flamethrower on your back, use it!
He's like, oh yeah, we have another one.
And it's just funny too because he's just, Windows is right there as it's happening and has not decided to torch the thing.
Yeah, he kind of,
unfortunately,
he gets his head consumed.
Oh.
Head consuming head action. He's like,
oh yeah, that's true.
He's like, oh,
legs.
Yeah, he's really flopping around. Yikes! And he kind of lets go of him and throws him across the room in this jelly thing that I'm assuming keeps consuming him or whatever. And then he runs out and
after it's being. It runs out after
it runs through a wall.
It does.
I think it runs, at least through a door, and then he just blows him up with a grenade.
He sets him on fire. The flamethrower was working.
Mm-hmm.
Sets him on fire. The thing runs out, and then it falls down, and then he goes and explodes him, and there's nothing left.
Which again, I mean, from what we've learned about this monster, that doesn't seem like enough. That seems like we just created 50 more monsters from that.
Opportunities for someone to walk by and be like,
tasty.
Wonder what that is.
Thinking about it.
Or any other animal to eat it.
Jelly. Yeah, you're right. It's that awful tactics. But, you live and you learn. And then he goes back in and he has to, unfortunately, torch the rest of Windows, which it's kind of sad because I feel like he's not really fully consumed, so he's probably still alive in there.
You can hear some of the screeching.
Yeah.
Coming forth.
It's half monster, half man burning in there.
Goodbye, Windows.
Bye, Windows.
I was really hoping he would make it out if he wasn't the monster. And he wasn't,
No, he wasn't.
But now he is.
Mm-hmm.
So
now he's gone.
And
but we got to test the rest of the people there. So then we test Nulls, and he's negative. And then we test Childs, and he's negative. And then Gary, and he's also negative. So everyone is negative. Now all the humans are negative. But they still have to go test Blair. because he's still in the shed.
Oh, right.
We got to go test his blood to
Mhm.
see if he's good or not. And that's what kind of separates them again.
Yeah.
Right?
But before that, you made a fantastic point of like how both of the people of color were not made into the Thing, which I thought was so great, and that they weren't like killed immediately either.
Mhm.
I thought that was such a great point to say, because it was just like, yeah. Because in so many other horror films, it's just like
Immediately picked off.
Minority.
Yeah.
Dies.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really great to see them holding the flamethrower to the doctor as
Yep.
he's testing the blood of Gary's.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
it was really good.
Yeah, so then they go off, and is this when they separate from Childs?
Yeah, Childs stays. And
He stays back just to keep guard, or
to keep guard the
they're
space.
gonna go. Yeah, I think it was a whole situation of like, we're gonna go test to see if he's cool or not. If he comes back and we don't, torture him.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So
then
okay.
Now it's
I do remember that.
The three of them going in there, doors wide open. Oh, where is he? We don't know. And then that's where they go and see that he's created an enormous cave.
Incredible.
Incredible
amount of digging.
It's just.
When did he do that?
That's like 5 Shawshanks worth of digging.
Yeah, my God.
He digged really fast.
He really, really got
But
in there.
also, was it before or after they go down where they see Childs run off?
I thought that was Blair that ran off.
No, it's somebody with the flamethrower.
And Knowles does say that he thought he saw
Childs.
It's all within that time frame. I don't necessarily remember which one happened.
I think
first.
and I think it's supposed to be very ambiguous of who that is.
Because also, so there are other characters that get consumed by the Thing and they run out. I think they need to be in a quiet, safe space for them to like transform, I guess. And not have things coming out of their body. So the doctor isn't anywhere around. Because and we know that he's in there because the lights go off.
Yeah.
So it could have gotten to Childs and he just ran off.
Yep. Well, and at the end, Childs says, I ran into Blair, and then I got lost in a storm. So he sees him. Child sees him.
He said he ran into him?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he said he saw him.
Or he saw him, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But their paths did cross, and we didn't see that. And we know that at this point, Blair is the Thing. So if he came across him at that moment...
And also, he wouldn't have made it out of that storm. He was out there for way too long.
He leaves the movie for a well amount of time for us to be like, where have you been?
Yeah, and McReady also said it's gonna get down to negative 100 degrees out here,
Yeah.
so we're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna explode everything, but we're gonna kill it with us.
Oh, you know what? It might have happened where it's like they do maybe go down there, and then they see what's going on, and they're like, "Oh, we have to blow this up."
Mm-hmm.
And then they may have come back out to go get supplies, whatever, dynamite and stuff.
Or go back to
and
reunite.
in that like moment, I think is maybe where they were like, "Oh, was that Childs? Did I just
Who's that?"
And then they go down, and that's where they like start to set the charges, the three of them, and then
because
Gary walks off.
Yeah, because they established that it killed a generator because it wants everything to freeze. It wants to go back into its frozen state now, so it can go back to sleep and just wait for the rescue crew to come by and thaw it out again and just hop on with them.
Mm-hmm.
So McReady says, let's warm it up a little around here.
Yeah, that was a great
And
line.
that starts their plan of setting all the charges. They're like running through the base, throwing Molotov cocktails and grenades into every single room, just making one big bonfire out of their base.
That cost $1 million.
Budget.
Budget.
Yeah. And they got to go down to where the generator is, which I'm assuming is like kind of like the center of, or like the bottom part of this base or whatever.
It's in the base.
And setting the big charges down there. Again, we're kind of left with McReady, Knowles, and Gary. Childs has disappeared, so it's these three down in the basement.
See, that's a huge ass chunk.
Yeah.
For him to be in a storm.
Yeah.
If he had seen the doctor, I'm going to go back to this.
Yeah.
If he had seen the doctor, why not just run towards where he knows everybody else is at?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Very, very plausible.
Yeah, if he would have seen the doctor, he'd been like, he's over here. Or
Yeah.
I agree. It seems
Anyways.
inconceivable. But
when we get to this point here, and then we get to another point of separation, I'll set charges here, you set charges over there. Gary walks over, starts to set some charges, and then we see Blair again.
yes.
And that scene where he is consuming him or changing him, where they really,
The fingers.
that was
in
so
the cheek.
cool, is to
Yeah.
see that like through the skin,
Yeah.
and it's like you could just imagine one of those tentacles is shooting out
Yeah.
into his mouth, and then they showed that scene of him dragging him after. I was like, wow, those are
Yeah.
that's gonna stick. That's gonna stick in here.
Because
That'll stick.
that effect is like when
He
you think about it,
was-
it's so easy. Because it's really,
Super.
it's just like the fingers being under the skin kind of effect, and
Yeah,
your
yeah,
mind
it's
does
just,
the
it's
rest.
Just, it's just latex.
Yeah.
They're just having it be latex
He-
around here that pushes.
He really does a good job, just like, and now move
Yeah.
all of your fingers.
Yeah.
Oh. Knowles goes off to find him.
That one upset me so much because it was like, I don't remember there being a sound.
There was
for him-
nothing.
for him to respond.
It was
to.
absolutely nothing.
And kind of walks into imminent death with like a little grin, almost of like, oh, it's over here.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like such a letdown for one of the final characters. Like that moment that we just talked about was so cool. Very simple, but very cool. And Knowles gets nothing. He doesn't even get a sound effect.
Hey, those ready? And then he's like, oh fuck, I don't hear anything.
Shit. I'm alone. I'm alone again.
And do we see the doctor again? Not as himself, right?
No,
Now
we don't
it's the-
see him.
Now it's the big
Yeah.
fucking monster thing, which pretty cool effect of it kind of coming at him with the boards, like it's almost like Jaws, but underneath of these wooden boards of it coming at him.
Very Dune-like worm.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Kind of feeling.
And then it
Because-
just like grabs the what's that? The thingamajigger.
Oh, the
the
detonator.
detonator,
The
yeah,
detonator. And he's
grab
like,
it.
and I'll take that thing.
because it does kind of become a big, like when we see it, it is kind of a big worm like thing, and it this whole time we've talked about how it has like these tentacles coming off of it, so it is like a big kind of just like consuming, almost like an earthworm. Just all it does is just eat the earth below us, and it's just like this big worm. And when it finally comes out this last moment, it's like everything that we've seen it consume before. Like there's dogs coming out of it. There's a human face up here with a big like other worldly mouth coming off of it, and it's just like more and more of just crazy
Is this
consuming.
Is this where we get the cool little like somersault out of the way?
Yes.
Tossing.
Oh,
He
yeah.
has his last fucking
Yeah, 'cause
dynamite.
It's kind of like we see this big massive thing, and he's like, and fuck you too, and then throws the dynamite and then runs out of there and somersaults off, and all the big explosions go off.
Yeah.
McReady has survived the big explosion.
Pops the ball.
He's got
Mhm.
his JB and
Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber, and he's pretty done. He kind of just collapses there, and then
I think at this point has been like, okay, I've done what I think I can do. I'm gonna die now, and I'm gonna sip on
I'm
this for as
pretty-
long as I can.
pretty much gonna die right now.
Yeah.
And then Childs comes back.
He kind of also leaves it as like, I mean, even if you are the thing, like, I'm just gonna sit here and wait.
This is wait for a
Yeah,
second.
because Charles is like,
Not
how
much.
are we going to make it? He's like, maybe we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we
He's
shouldn't.
like, we can't do anything anymore. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And then they pass by the
If
bottom.
one of them is the thing, whether it's Childs or McReady, it's kind of this like last moment of like a post battle like toast to each other. Like they share this drink, and it's like almost like a mutual respect moment that they have at each other to just sit there and not immediately attack each other, but respect each other as formidable foes. Well, and that's the beautiful part about this ending is that it leaves us with enough information and enough evidence on both sides of, is Childs the thing? Is he not the thing? Is McReady the thing? Is he not? Like, there's enough evidence for us to, and there's not enough answers that they give us for us to make a definitive decision of like, yes, for sure, this is it. Yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
I think that there's a reason that this movie kind of sticks around the horror genre so much, because it is very effective, and there's a lot to talk about in this movie. I think the filmmakers do a fantastic job of subverting our attention and suspicion into so many different directions that it leaves us with so much to talk about. And even seeing it so many times, you are looking at different things every time you watch it and are noticing different things every time. And I don't even know if the filmmakers, when they were making this, even knew who exactly was the thing. Or it felt like they were putting things in there only to make us more confused and make us question things just because that was the point. They build the paranoia very well through this whole movie.
Well, it's scary too. My brother was talking to me about this film, and he said that just like not being able to like trust anybody, and then for it to kind of then emulate a human being is what's very scary about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you're contained and you don't know who you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where like that ambiguity and that like intentional confusion could have been the film in and of itself. Like without the gore and like the monster and actually seeing what it transforms into, just that like idea alone makes for a really good, intense subject matter for a film. And for a film to be intended to be horror, it's like that in and of itself of there's a thing that will change into other people that you know and you don't know who it is more than enough. And then to then add all these like crazy, wonderful practical effects to just like blow it out of proportion is really cool.
Even when we're looking at it, when we're seeing it, it's morphing, and like I kept saying it, like it keeps going. Like it keeps like, it's like this idea of the horror of it never stops because it keeps opening up, and there's more teeth inside, there's more heads coming out. It itself
and it
never
it
stops.
remembers organisms that it's already been, and so there you see portions of that as well.
And this idea almost of like it's eating memories too, because it is gaining the knowledge of the person, I think, too, that it is consuming. So it's consuming everything about that person or whatever it is. It's also, I think, adding onto what's scary about it is that it's not even acting, as far as I understand, it's not acting under like out of like malice intent. It's an animal that is consuming and imitating. Like, this is what it does to survive. So it's not even, I don't think it was even intending to come to this planet in the first place based off of that first shot of it crashing down. But I don't think it's coming and consuming these people just to be evil. Like, this is how it lives. This is how it survives and all that it knows. So, which is even scarier because you can't reason with a thing like that.
Crazy.
Okay, well, let's get to some Smash Pumpkins rating.
I would love to give it. I'll give it a personal 5 rating because I just really enjoyed it. I thought that. Well, I'll say, I just think that like cinematography went really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the music score was fantastic. I think the multi-layer of this trust, mistrust, added with like monster horror was a very perfect blend. Entertaining. Also, I thought there were a lot of portions that were not intended to be funny, but was funny, which is
Yeah.
like, if I can find those little nuggets, I will. But I think probably like in the grand scheme of like all the other ones, I would give it more fairly probably like a 4 to 4.5.
Okay.
You know, like
Gotcha.
it's probably not. It's definitely not like a maybe perfect film. Not that a 5 rating means that, but you know, there were definitely some things that like would have been easier, I think, to follow. But you know, also I don't know. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
4.5.
It's perfectly an 80s movie. To the hair, to, the practical effects. That in itself is, it was just marvelous. Like the whole time I would see, because this is my second time seeing it,
Mhm.
and now I was able to really fully pay attention to the special effects and just how maybe perhaps they accomplished them. And I just kept wondering, it's like the head dragging away, was that little wheels? Like, I don't know, that they like embedded like little wheels for it to like move while the mouth is moving and the eyeballs. Oh man. I think the story in itself of like who done it is a little like convoluted, but it was still fun, and it's still, I don't know, I really enjoyed it still the second time. I'm gonna give I'm gonna I'm hmm, I'm gonna give it a 5.
Wow. Okay. Shit. 5 out
Yeah,
of 5.
it's just so much fun, and the practical effects just still, they still are, what the word I want to use.
They
They're
hold
still
up.
effective.
Yeah,
They're
they
still,
hold up. And I think
yeah, they
that's
hold up.
that's what I was gonna say is yes, this movie feels like the time period that it was made in, but it still holds up extremely well, and that is a testament to the filmmaking that's happening.
And the flamethrowing and the
everything
explosions.
everything
It's
is
so
practical, and
I think there was only, at least I only recognized it maybe once or twice, where they used what felt like either a drawn backdrop or a green screen.
Yeah.
And it was when they were approaching the big spaceship.
The spaceships.
Yep.
I think that's the only time that it felt like, oh, because I was even also surprised too. I was like, they're using a real helicopter all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was like, this isn't a little model. Well, also the first, I guess, like space scene is the only other time where they do that. But
Still sells pretty well.
Yeah.
It sells.
Solid.
They sell it really, really hard,
Yeah.
and that's one thing of being like, okay, they really cared about it being made well and it being made practically, so it does hold up for this long. That's all on top of the fact of it being a really cool story. You know, it's kind of like who done it, you never know, paranoia kind of story. I do agree that at a certain point it becomes like they're almost throwing so much curveballs at you just because they want you to be confused that it's almost like, okay, like I get it, like we can't trust everybody, like I totally get it, but you're still in it, you're still part of it the whole time, and it is, like I said, there's a reason that it is a horror sci-fi classic, because I think it is timeless and it does for sure hold up. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.8.
All right.
4.8.
4.8.
Because almost there.
Close enough for me.
Almost there, but still very, very, very good.
Cool.
This was very fun, but I think we have to end off this episode with figuring out what we're gonna watch next time. And as the guest, Danny, you get to pick.
Okay.
Really, really dig down deep in there. Really find one that you know.
Oh
There's
my
a lot.
God.
And there's a lot like kind of stuck together.
We
too,
said
so.
maybe it.
We
We're
did say
trying
maybe
to.
it. So read the title, the year, and the log line, please.
This is always
What do we
scary
got?
and
Ooh, it's a big
exciting.
one.
Man, damn.
Wow.
I wish I could. Okay. Would you mind if I read the
Go for it.
description?
I love the
Ooh,
I love the
yeah.
drama.
What it is.
Love the drama.
Okay.
Love the drama.
This is an American grandson of the infamous scientist struggling to prove that his grandfather was not as insane as people believe, is invited to Transylvania when he discovers the process that reanimates a dead body.
Oh, this is
It's
gonna
from
be fun.
1974. Can you tell me what it is?
It is
Young Frankenstein.
Yes, it's on your arm, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Igor. Igor's right there.
Yeah, I love this movie.
Mel Brooks.
Directed by Mel Brooks, written by Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks.
R.I.P. Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Fucking love that guy.
Love.
Wow.
Love.
This is great.
Horror comedy.
I love this.
That's great. Awesome. Great pick, Dan.
Hey,
Great pick. Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming.
thank
Yes.
you for having
Would
me.
you like
Lovely.
to plug yourself at all?
No, it's fine.
Okay, he's just Dan. He's just Dan.
He's
me.
just
chilling
Dan.
around.
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Color Me Leslie. You can also find our podcast.
Yeah. Check out at
Deadlights.
Deadlights Pod on Instagram, and also check out at BP Pritchie T. That's me, and Playground Social, which is the studio that we are recording this in.
Woo!
But until next time, let's get spooky, y'all.
Ooh.
We're getting spooky. It's cold. It's really cold out
I'm
there.
gonna turn into everything and anything I want.